When you think of ancient Rome, what comes to mind? Is it the Colosseum where ferocious beasts were slain by brave gladiators, or the mighty legions that conquered half the known world? Ancient Rome was a vast empire that stretched from the British Isles to Egypt. Its influence is still felt today through its language, law, and architecture. But what about the people who lived in ancient Rome? What was life like for them? How did they eat, sleep, and have fun? And what were their greatest achievements? Join us as we take a journey back in time to explore the rise and fall of one of the most powerful empires in history. We will meet some of the people who lived in ancient Rome and find out what made this city so great. Who is Julius Caesar? He is one of the most famous people in history. But how much do you really know about him? He was a Roman general and statesman who played a critical role in the events that led to the demise of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire. He was also a brilliant military strategist, and his campaigns in Gaul and his civil war against Pompey are among the most famous in history. But Caesar was more than just a soldier. He was also a shrewd politician who understood the importance of public opinion. He used his position as consul to implement a number of popular reforms, accessibilities to the poor, and expanded Roman citizenship to people in the He was also a prolific writer, and his commentaries on the Gallic Wars are a valuable source of information on that conflict. But Caesar's political and military success made him enemies. The Roman Senate saw him as a threat to the Republic, and a number of powerful figures were eager to get rid of him. On March 15, 44 BC, Caesar was assassinated by a group of senators. His death had a profound impact on the course of Roman history, and it would ultimately lead to the end of the Republic and the establishment of the Empire. A brief look at ancient Rome. The Roman Empire reached its greatest territorial extent under the rule of Emperor Trajan in 117 AD, covering some 5 million square kilometers. At its peak, it boasted a population of around 60 million people. Ancient Rome was a sprawling metropolis with a population of over 1 million people. It was home to some of the most impressive buildings in the ancient world, including the Colosseum, the Pantheon, and the Forum. The city was divided into a number of different neighborhoods, and each one had its own unique character. There was the Forum, which was the center of public life in the city. It was surrounded by government buildings, temples, and shops. Then there was the Palatine Hill, which was the home of the wealthy and powerful. Here you would find luxurious villas and gardens. But not everyone in Rome lived in such luxury. The city was also home to a large number of poor people who lived in crowded tenements. Life in ancient Rome was not easy, but it was certainly exciting. The city was a melting pot of cultures and a hub of activity. There was always something going on in Rome, whether it was a chariot race in the Circus Maximus or a gladiator fight in the Colosseum. Julius Caesar, the great conqueror, born in 100 BC into an old but impoverished patrician family. Gaius Julius Caesar was destined for greatness. Despite his humble beginnings, Caesar was determined to make a name for himself. He began his career as a military tribune, and it was long before he was commanding his own legions. Caesar's first major victory came when he defeated the Helvetians in a famous battle in 58 BC. This victory made him a hero of the Roman people and set him on the path to becoming one of the most powerful men in the empire. But Caesar's military success was not without its risks. He made powerful enemies both at home and abroad. The Roman Senate was suspicious of his growing power, and the Gauls were eager to avenge their defeat. But Caesar was undeterred. He went on to conquer more territory and defeat more enemies, cementing his place as one of Rome's greatest generals. Caesar's ambitious nature didn't stop at expanding Rome's borders. He wanted more for himself and for Rome. He set his sights on becoming dictator of the Roman Republic. As dictator, Caesar would have absolute power over Rome, but he would need the support of the people to make it happen. Caesar knew that he needed to win the hearts and minds of the Roman people if he wanted to become dictator. So he lavished them with gifts and favors. He distributed money to the poor, organized games and festivals, and even built new roads and aqueducts. The people of Rome loved Caesar, and they were eager to see him as their leader. In 49 BC, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River and marched on Rome. He defeated his enemies in battle and took control of the city. He was now the dictator of Rome. As dictator, Caesar implemented a number of reforms that changed the course of Roman history. He reformed the calendar, reorganized the tax system, and granted Roman citizenship to people in the provinces. He also appointed people to positions of power based on merit rather than family connections. Caesar's reforms were popular with the people of Rome, but they made him enemies in the Senate. The senators were suspicious of Caesar's power, and they were afraid that he was becoming too much like a king. On March 15, 44 BC, a group of senators assassinated Caesar. He had been stabbed 23 times when he finally collapsed. The people of Rome were devastated. They had lost their great leader, and many mourned his death. But Caesar's death would ultimately lead to the end of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire. The assassination of Caesar and the fall of the Republic. When Caesar was assassinated, the Roman Republic was in chaos. The assassination was not supported by the majority of the Roman people, but it did have support in the Senate. The senators who had assassinated Caesar believed that they were saving the Republic, but they had no idea what they were getting themselves into. The assassination of Caesar led to a civil war between his supporters and his enemies. The war was brutal and it lasted for years, but in the end, Caesar's supporters emerged victorious. This victory led to the end of the Roman Republic and the establishment of the Roman Empire. The first emperor of Rome was Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, who took the title Augustus, Rome's greatest general. So what made Julius Caesar Rome's greatest general? Well, for starters, he was a brilliant military strategist. He was also a master of logistics and his ability to project Roman power, far from Rome itself, was unparalleled. Moreover, Caesar was a charismatic leader who was able to inspire his troops to great deeds. He was also ruthless when necessary and was not afraid to use force to achieve his goals. Finally, Caesar was a student of history, and he understood the importance of taking advantage of opportunities. He was able to read the signs of the times and he knew when to strike. These factors combined to make Julius Caesar one of the greatest generals in history. If you want to know more about the Roman Empire, stay tuned for more updates. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos. And thanks for watching. Now let's move on to the next video. How did ancient Rome conquer the Mediterranean? Ancient Rome's conquest of the Mediterranean was a long and gradual process that took centuries. The Roman Empire reached its greatest territorial extents under the rule of Emperor Trajan in 117 AD, covering some 5 million square kilometers. At its peak, it boasted a population of around 60 million people. The Roman Empire was able to conquer the Mediterranean through a combination of military force, diplomacy, and good fortune. The Romans were a highly militarized society, and they fielded some of the most powerful armies in the ancient world. The Roman legions were well trained and disciplined, and they were equipped with some of the most advanced weapons of their day. The Romans also had a strong navy that allowed them to project power throughout the Mediterranean. However, military force was only one part of the equation. The Romans were also skilled diplomats, and they knew how to make advantageous alliances. For example, Rome's alliance with Carthage in the early Republic was crucial in helping Rome to defeat Hannibal and control the Western Mediterranean. The Romans also benefited from the fact that the Mediterranean was a relatively small sea. This meant that the Romans could quickly move troops and supplies throughout the region. Additionally, the Romans were willing to adopt new technologies and tactics. For example, they learned how to use the Greek fire, a liquid substance that burned fiercely and was used as a naval weapon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment below to let me know what you thought. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. I'll see you next time.